Hey, Chris here from MyBombshells, and we've got the calendar out this year that's now shipping. It's out the door and we're just fulfilling orders. So anyhow, it's been a lot of fun putting this one together. I'll show you guys what it looks like here. So yeah, this is the calendar for 2026. We had a lot of fun putting this thing together. We've got air-to-air photos, we've got models, and this year we shot everybody in the studio. That way we could make them look like nose art, which I think is really cool. So lots of good stuff this year in the calendar. Head over to mybombshells.com and pick yourself up a copy for the shop or for your office or wherever you want to hang it. All right, so since we got the calendar out this year and that thing is shipping, that means it's time to get back out here in the garage, and we're going to keep working on the RV-8. So this last year I picked up a tail kit for an RV-8, started working on it, and today we're going to build a frame so that I can spray some of the parts with primer in the paint booth. So today we're building that frame, and we're going to put the calendar aside for a little bit and get to work out here in the shop. All right, so when you build an airplane, you do spend a lot of time building some tooling. I built some holders over here. You can see these to hold up the horizontal stabilizer. When I was working on it, that would hold it vertical. So the next thing I'm going to build here is a frame that I can use to hang parts on when I shoot paint on them or primer. And like all good things, I'm going to start off here with a little bit of a sketch on some cardboard, because cardboard's better than napkins out in the shop. And what I've got here, this stuff is called Super Strut, and what it is it's usually used in electrical installations or industrial applications, but it has this channel where you can hang things in it, and it's kind of like an erector set, so you can buy brackets, and then there's these nuts that will go inside the channel. So yeah, Super Strut is really versatile, and one of the things that I like about it is you can put it together and then take it apart and use it for something else. So some of the Super Strut that I'm using here has been used in other projects. I'm sort of recycling that. I did go out and buy one new piece because I needed some more of it, but let me show you some of the components that we have here. So when you get Super Strut, it has this kind of cross section here, and what you can do is put nuts inside that and bolt things to it. So I've got brackets here. Those brackets will fit on there, and then these are the nuts, and then these nuts will fit inside that channel, and then I can use, just regular bolts here. I've got a pack of 3/8 bolts to put this whole thing together. And then I also have some caster wheels here that I'm going to use. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a frame that has wheels on it that I can roll it in and out of the paint booth pretty easily. So I've got a couple different size brackets here, and just like I said, I've got this little sketch, and basically what I want to do here is I want to make a frame that has legs on the bottom of it, and the casters will go on the bottom here. And then as part of that frame, I want a shelf that I can basically lay parts down on. And then the other piece that I have here is this frame here, this wire rack. This used to come from a display like in a store that they would hang things on, but I'm going to use that as a place to lay parts on it, so when I go to shoot them, that the parts will lay on the frame on that rack there, but not have a lot of contact area, so it'll be easier to shoot. All right, so the first thing I did here was I got a little bit organized. I got everything kind of laid out here and got everything put in piles, and I want to show you the differences on some of the hardware here. All right, so when you're working with the Super Strut, there's really two different kinds of nuts. There's these nuts with the little plastic cone on them, and then you've got these nuts with the spring. It really doesn't matter which one you use. They both do the same thing. And like I said, I was repurposing some of this stuff, so I have kind of a mix of hardware here. And then you have your bolts. So these are just your regular bolts. These are 3/8. Now this hardware also comes in 1/4 inch, and honestly for what I was doing out here, 1/4 inch would have been just fine, but I've already got a bunch of the 3/8 hardware and I needed to repurpose it, so I just went all with 3/8, and that's okay, it'll be a little stiffer. And then you've got washers. I like to put washers underneath the heads. And then moving over here, you've got a couple different kinds of brackets. You've got brackets with 1 hole, and then you've got brackets with 2 holes. So obviously the 2-hole brackets are going to be stiffer if you're going to run them on a longer area. And then I've got some connection plates here. Yeah, and your hardware stores will have all this stuff. Now, the nice thing is this is metal, And so if you do clean the galvanizing off of it, you can weld to it. So it makes it really versatile if you need to do something kind of odd. I just want to show you how it goes in here. So the nut just slides in here, and then you'd be able to bolt to it there. Now there are two different kinds of Super Strut. There is sort of this deep Super Strut, and then there's the narrow one. And the deep one is going to be a little bit stiffer for those longer runs. But this narrow Super Strut works for just about everything, and it is a bit lighter than the other stuff here. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to join these two tall pieces here. And again, these are pieces that I'm sort of repurposing from an old project, so I don't need to cut them. But I'm going to put these three pieces together, and then I'm going to have to cut some pieces for the bottom. So I'm just kind of building this as I go. All right, so I'm getting ready to make my first cut in the metal here, and I'm going to show you my cutting setup. But first, it's really important to use lubrication. You can use some WD-40 or just some motor oil, works good too, but you definitely don't want to cut dry. And I'll show you my setup here. So I've got a bandsaw here. This is called a horizontal bandsaw. And what it does is it will come down here and sit on the metal like that. And it'll just kind of turn on and work. And I've got the spring adjusted so that it keeps a little bit of tension on it. And you'll notice also I've got a drip pan down here because you're going to spray oil on it and it's going to fall, and you don't want to make a mess on the floor. So let's get the first cut done. All right, so it never fails. You can't do a project without going back to the hardware store at least once, right? So this time I'm going back. I had bought 1 1/4 inch 3/8 bolts, and they're just a little bit too long for that narrow Super Strut that I have. So I'm going to go get a box of 3/8 by 1 inch bolts, and hopefully that will be all I need to go back to the store for, but we'll see. All right, looking for some 3/8 bolts. Here we go. 3/8 by, here we go, 3/8 by 1. All right. All right, we got our bolts. Let's get out of here. All right, so I'm building an RV-8, and it's an all-metal airplane. And metal, one of the things that is bad about it is it'll corrode if you don't protect it. So the metal comes with Alclad on it, and to make sure that we don't get any corrosion, because I don't know where I'm going to fly this airplane. I'm in Wichita, Kansas, so we're not near the ocean. So it's, you know, probably not in a highly corrosive environment here, but I don't know, I might take it down to the Caribbean, might go to Florida, might go to California. You know, I'm going to be flying in those environments that have a lot of corrosion activity or prime conditions for corrosion. So what I'm trying to do here is on the insides of my parts, I'm going to shoot primer on them to give me the best chance of not developing corrosion sort of later on down the line. And then when the airplane gets all put together, we'll prime the other side and then put paint on it. So that's why I'm building this rack today, so I can shoot the primer on the inside of the tail for the RV-8. Now, there are a few design decisions that I made in building this thing. I already had a lot of the parts to put this thing together from a previous project. If I didn't have that, I might have just put this together with some 2x4s or some wood. I mean, it doesn't really need to be metal. But the one nice thing about the Super Strut is that I can repurpose it. I can take it apart. I can take it apart and store it in between some of the in between the 2x4s and the walls of my garage here. So it'll pack down really small, and that's one of the nice things about using the Super Strut material is it's pretty versatile. It's strong, and you can take it apart and reuse it, or take it apart and store it, that kind of thing. So you know, if you're building something from scratch, you know, just use the materials that you have around the shop or the garage. You know, or if you want to go the deluxe route, you can go out and buy the Super Strut stuff. The brackets and the Super Strut itself are kind of expensive. You'll probably have, you know, $100 to $200 at least in a project like this, but it's going to last a long time, and it's going to be used over and over again during this project, so I don't feel like that's a bad trade-off. All right, so I got most of the frame made here. You can see I've got two kind of legs down there to make it stand upright, and then I've just got a basic frame made here. And now I'm working on some additional pieces here. This is going to get bolted up to here, and that's going to kind of make a shelf to where I can put that wire rack on it and then lay parts on it. So you might have noticed I've been using this drill here, and the drill is really handy for just, you know, getting the bolts in and getting them just a little bit snug, but you're still going to need a ratchet to get them totally snug. So what I like to do is kind of get everything together, get it where I want it to be, and then go around with the ratchet and just tighten everything up. All right, so now that I got this thing put together, I did have the bottom feet kind of even on each side, but with this overhang here, I should have thought about that. There's more weight on the front side of this than there is on the back side. So what I'm doing is I'm adjusting the bottom feet here. So I've got about 10 inches hanging out the back, and then the rest of it hangs out the front, and that'll help me support that extra overhang weight, that extra overhang moment that I've got. All right, so I got a pretty good start on this thing. I've got the feet moved back so it's a little more stable on the front, and I've got this rack here. It's just gonna kind of sit here on it. I might throw some zip ties on it, but really I want to be able to take this thing apart, so I don't want to make anything too permanent on this. One thing that I did notice here, and I was afraid this was going to happen, is that these joints can kind of wiggle back and forth. So what I'm going to do is put a cross brace in on the back side of this thing. So that's a good start. Next thing I need to do here is weld the casters onto the bottom there, but that's going to have to wait till after lunch. All right, I'm on the road. I'm going to go pick up my girlfriend Jen. We're going to go have some barbecue. All right, what's that thing called?
It's a Bourdain winch.
That looks good.
It does look good.
Got some pulled pork, some brisket, hot link. All right, so I went to a local store we have called The Yard, and at The Yard they sell all sorts of metal and scrap and all that kind of stuff, and I found these straps, so I'm going to use these to tighten up the frame and provide me some support from its swing side to side. All right, so I got the crossbars attached. They go down from the bottom of the bracket here all the way up to the top, and now I can push on this and it's nice and sturdy, doesn't want to go anywhere. So the last thing I got left to do here is put some casters on the feet. All right, so there it is. I've got a finished rack so that I can paint my parts on it. And I've got lots of area where I can hang things off of here. And then I've also got this nice big flat rack here. And let me show you why that's going to be useful here, because I have these rib pieces, and now I can just lay these rib pieces kind of on this rack and shoot them this way. And then if I want to, I can then, or I could hang them with some wire off of here. I might come up with another piece that comes off of here so I can hang things, but this is gonna make painting or priming this stuff a whole lot easier. All right, so I know some of y'all are gonna ask, how big is this thing? It's 36 inches across on the top, so that's across, and it's 58 inches tall. And then the rack down here is 2 foot from the base, so it's 2 foot across, and it's 48 inches wide. And then on the bottom here, my bottom channels are, I think, about 36 inches. And you know, really they just need to be big enough to support the weight. So, all right, so I hope you enjoyed the video. This is my painting rack that I've made to build my RV-8. And if you like this, go ahead and like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be putting out more content like this and about everything aviation. If you like the shirt I'm wearing today, you can head over to the website, MyBombshells.com, and check it out. We also have a calendar that we sell every year. It's a pin-up warbird calendar. Check it out, it's really cool. The website is MyBombshells.com. All right, we'll see you next time.